This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. Today's physics topic is controlling transfers. So for this topic, here is the learning objectives: heat loss from houses, insulation of houses, working principle of vacuum thermos or vacuum flask. So as you all know, in cold climates, in winter days, we are trying to keep our house warmer. For that reason, we are using radiator or air conditioner or other heating elements to make our house warmer. But the problem here is that heat energy, there are three ways of transfer of heat energy: conduction, convection, and radiation. The problem here is that this heat energy from our house can escape in three ways. How can we prevent this? If you don't prevent this, if you don't do anything to prevent these three ways of transfer of heat energy, it means that our house, we need to give more money to electricity bill. So in order to reduce that, we need to do some things to prevent transfer of heat energy. Before that, we should find out the parts of our home that can lose heat energy. In a typical house, there are a lot of ways that house can lose its heat energy, with roof, with walls, floors, and also doors, windows. Most energy is lost by roof because you know that convection current is moving up and the warmer air is moving gets lessness, and they are moving up, and if you don't do anything here in the roof, the warmer air will escape from our house will continuously lose its energy, and we need to give more electricity bill to make our house warmer. In order to reduce electricity bill, we should find the materials to prevent our house, to make our house warmer, to keep our house warmer. So, and in a few slides, you will learn about them. And that's why, first of all, draw this table inside your copybook and write down these titles of columns here: type of insulation, type of heat transfer stopped, how insulation stops heat transfer, because in a few slides you will learn about them. You just need to fill these columns with the information that I will say. So first of all, we should find the good materials that help us to prevent our house for transfer of heat energy. You already know that insulators, conduction cannot happen or can happen slowly in thermal insulators. Thermal insulators can be plastics, wood, ceramics, and also air. But conductors are the materials that they conduct heat energy very well, like metals, and that's why we cannot use them, because they can easily lose the heat energy as the conduction. That's why we should use thermal insulators. Air itself is also excellent insulator. With aid of air, the convection cannot happen, but you know that air does allow convection. Let's do a quick review for transfer of heat energy. So convection, we know that convection happen, movement of fluid particles. Conduction happen because of vibration of particles, and radiation happen with radiation, the moving through wave, or radiation happen inside the vacuum or inside the transparent objects, but only radiation cannot happen inside, cannot pass through opaque objects. So it's living as a wave. So air is a good thermal insulator, and conduction, it cannot allow conduction, but it does allow convection, because you know that convection current, it's happening through the air in our room. But if we make air stop in one place, if we trap the air in one place, it means that convection also cannot happen. For that reason, we are using carpets in our houses, because carpet or walls, they trap the air. They don't allow the convection current happen quickly or didn't allow the convection current. Even the clothes that we are wearing in the winter days, they also trap the air, and they don't allow the heat energy is lost by our body with aid of convection. Because of the clothes trap the air. So we need to make the trapped air, stop the air in order to prevent loss of heat energy by convection. So let's get started with the roof. Roof is the first place that the heat energy can be lost easily from that. So if you don't do anything here, if you don't do anything, if you don't prevent with anything our roof, it means that our house will lose heat energy quickly, because you know that in a convection current, warmer air gets less dense, it's rising up and moving down. If there is not anything to prevent the convection current will escape from our house. It will take our house's heat energy. So for that reason, we are using the loft insulation. Loft insulation slows down the transfer of heat energy. So between your living space and the outside world. So creating a warmer home in winter days. For example, you are seeing here, it's a loft insulation. So next thing is that we are using curtains. Curtains reduce drafts. It's the movement of air or movement of air due to the convection of current. It's a convection current. So you know that warm air rises because it becomes less dense and is carried up towards the windows in a house by convection currents. This heat energy can escape through gaps around windows that are uncovered. Fitting curtains and closing them can prevent the convection current leaving a house and so reduce heat loss. In addition, curtains are opaque and don't allow the heat energy loss as radiation. So next one is that walls. Most walls have an empty space inside this. They consist of two bricks. Inside this there is a cavity. Cavity is a inside the cavity there is the air. You know that air is excellent insulator. With this way, conduction cannot happen. But air does allow the convection current, and convection will happen. With this way, if you use this in our house will not lose heat energy as a conduction, but will lose heat energy as convection, because convection can happen. In order to prevent the convection, we should use the foam. We should pump into the foam between the bricks, and it prevents convection current. So, and the next one is the double glazing. Double glazing consists of two layers of glasses. Inside it there is air. Again, why they consist of glass? You know that because glass is good insulator and also does allow the infrared radiation passing through inside this. But inside this there is air because air is a good insulator again, and it don't allow conduction process happens, but it does allow convection. So in some cases, this air sucked out and creating a vacuum inside this. So problems with double glazing is that in case of emergency, it's difficult for the people to break down these glasses, and that's why they should use the special hammer. And the next one is that we didn't talk about the radiation because we only try to find a way to prevent the heat loss as convection and conduction. But here is a way for a radiation. It's the cheapest way because you know that radiator give us the infrared radiation. So it's always placed in front of the wall. This part gives the infrared radiation into our house, but this part, the back part of radiator give the energy to the wall, and with this way the radiation can escape from the house. In order to prevent this, some people use the shiny foil, because you know that shiny foil surface is shiny and smooth, and radiation can reflected from that, can be reflected from the shiny foil and reflected into our house, and this not allow the radiation escape from a house as heat energy. So, and the next one is that maybe most of you already use this vacuum thermos or vacuum flask. This, if you pour inside this hot water, it will keep this hot water hot. If we pour this inside the cold, it will again keep cold water as a cold. Why it's happening? What's the reason behind it? The reason behind this is construction. There's some insulators or some ways are used in order to keep this warm liquid inside this. First of all, let's get started with plastic stopper. Plastic stopper is placed in the top of this vacuum thermos because it prevents convection. It prevents transfer of heat energy as a convection, because you know that if we pour inside this hot water, the particles which have a higher kinetic energy, they want to escape from the liquid, and they will evaporate and become gas. So this prevents these particles not escaping from the vacuum thermos. So next way is that these double glass walls, are good insulators. Inside this, there is a vacuum. Why vacuum is used? Because vacuum don't allow conduction and also convection. Glasses are good insulators because the glasses conduction happen, but because of the vacuum, conduction and convection cannot happen. So, but what about the radiation? Actually, these glasses are covered by thin layer of silver. Silver is shiny and smooth, and that's why radiation cannot escape from that. Radiation reflect back into the liquid, and energy cannot escape outside as radiation. So the last thing is that plastic spacer is located between them. So plastic stapler are made from plastic. So because of that, you know that plastic is a good thermal insulator, and that's why conduction cannot happen with this way. And because of that, because of the construction of this thermos with the way that I explained, a thermos keep the hot water hot and the cold water cold.